Yo, 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 it's your friendly neighborhood knucklehead, and this is the 8th vlog. And if you're going through a breakup right now, or if you're starting a new healing journey, but you don't quite know how to go about it, what to do first, where to start, in this video, I'm going to tell you what I've been doing and what my 3-month update is, and how I've been getting to the places that I've been getting to. First off, right off the bat, I want to put out there that healing is not linear. And what I mean by that is it's not just going to be a steady climb. 1 week to the next week, to the next week, to the next week, to the next month, to the next month. It's not just like you can look in your rear view mirror and see your past self. It's not going to be like that at all. You're going to have good days, bad days, just like with anything. But the difference is that we're trying to break the cycle of the past, and we have to dig deep, and we have to make the right decisions for ourselves, and we always have to be looking towards healthier outcomes, healthier versions of ourselves, higher versions of ourselves. We have to know the right and wrong things to do that are in alignment with our healing. And in doing that, we really have to listen to our bodies when we do certain things. We're going to have to put the awareness back into what feels right, what doesn't feel right. And that can be a really tricky thing sometimes, especially after going through a breakup, because your head can be all over the place. Your emotions are all over the place. That's where they were for me about 3 months ago, 4 months ago. I was all over the place. I was in a trauma response state, and I didn't know what to do. But what I knew I wanted to do was I wanted to try something. I needed to take some sort of leap. I needed to put my trust into something and get myself in some sort of process. If you're a visual person and I'm just saying healing is not linear, that might not do it for you. But here's kind of a little bit more of what it could look like. This is just an example. These data points don't mean anything, but here's 30 days, like 1 month of healing, what it could look like. And I put 30 days up against an emotional scale, like whether you're feeling like a 2 one day or a 10 one day or whatever. The point is to just illustrate the peaks and the setbacks. So that's pretty much what healing is going to be. There's going to be peaks and there's going to be setbacks, but it's not totally random when you have a peak or when you have a setback, and it can even change within the day. You can be feeling really great one day, but then you could drive by something that triggers you and that can bring you right back down, and you can end your day on like a sour note. For me, I know that my peaks, like especially if we take a look at the first week where things were climbing up, like that for me was going to therapy, going on walks, clearing my head, meditating. Like when I was really putting the awareness back into my own body, that's when I started feeling I was climbing and that I was healing, and those were my peaked days. But then these setbacks here, like when we see day 8 go to day 9, you go from an 8 to a 1, right? For me, that would be if I woke up from bad dreams. And that's something that happens a lot if you're going through real traumatic kinds of breakups, or if you're in really abusive relationships, like whether it has a narcissistic, codependent dynamic or an anxious, avoidant attachment. If it's abusive or if it's super traumatic, dreams are gonna come. And even 3 months later now, I still have dreams. I still have dreams like I'm back in that old version of me, back in that old situation, in that old relationship, in my old life pretty much. And sometimes that brings me back down, but because I've been staying with the process, those setbacks, like on day 9, it could be a 1, but on day 18, 9 days later, now it's a 2, right? So instead that cycle, instead of it falling super low, it falls a little bit higher, right? This is a different version of this graph, but this red line is called a trend line, okay? And this is just, I'm just showcasing my economics background a little bit, but what this red line is doing is it's just taking the overall average. And if we look at the overall average, it is increasing like a linear path. But when you look at it from day to day, it's anything but linear. It's all over the place. I connected the lines here just to make it a little bit easier to see the purple lines. But if you take away the purple lines, it's just a scatter plot. It's just random purple dots, high and low. And that red line would be the average of them all coming right through. And if we look at the average, the purple line starts at a 2, the red line starts at a 4.5, right? So it climbs steadily based on the average of all those points. So this is the best way to kind of show how healing looks against what we want it to look like. The first 3 months, what to expect is, again, it's a cycle. You're swapping out old cycles and you're bringing in new cycles. And these new cycles are going to be healthier things. You're going to be living more for yourself. So it's a real detachment process. It's a real breaking bad habit process. And for me, I'm the type of person that likes to face these problems head on. And I'm very systematic, and I like to take one thing at a time and isolate them and really go at it. And I did a lot of research and tried to figure out what the best process was going to be for me. And I talked about this in the last vlogs, but the first thing that I recommend and the first thing that I did was I found myself a therapist and I started to self-regulate. I started to forgive myself. I started to practice self-care, and my therapist, having your therapist or a therapist present or someone that's keeping tabs on you is going to make sure that you're on a healthy path, making sure that your behaviors are in the interest of healing and are in the interest of being a higher version of yourself or being a healthier version of yourself. So having that person in your corner, it's almost like having a coach or somewhat of a mentor, but really it's a professional in psychology that is keeping you accountable for your behaviors and for what you do to heal. But number one is always going to be trying to calm your body down and trying to accept what has happened. The second thing for me, and this was probably the most challenging part, was that notion of acceptance also comes with the notion of letting go. Letting go of that other person, letting go of that attachment, letting go of that past life and that relationship. And my, I guess, resistance to letting go was what was surfacing in my dreams and what was also surfacing in those setbacks of my healing graph, right? Those would be contributing the most to those low vibe, low emotional days where I started feeling guilt and shame and things like that. What I did to attack that problem was I was watching a lot of YouTube videos on letting go and about trauma responses and educating myself. Like, why is this so hard for me? I had no idea why this was so hard for me. And then I started doing research on trauma responses, on fawning, on codependency, on dysfunctional attachment. And I realized, I needed to let go. And how do I do that? Well, the first thing was that awareness process. That awareness process of knowing that this is really hard for me. Why? Why is this really hard for me? What is it about me that I can't let go of this person, even when this person was so abusive towards me. And the first thing, along with the therapy and the self-care and self-forgiveness, the first thing I then jumped into was the meditations. Guided meditations and meditations toward relaxing my body and toward getting me out of those low vibe states and those setback situations where my emotions were really low on the scale. It was bringing me aware of my thoughts and letting my thoughts happen, not trying to control them, not trying to block them out, or whatever your bad habits of the past might be. Letting your thoughts happen, writing them down, big way to let go. Writing down what it is, because sometimes when you write it down, you realize how silly it is as well. So that was a big thing for me, was getting that awareness in my body, figuring out ways to let go, and meditating. From that, I started to expand on those meditations and really target aspects of my body that I needed work on. So I was reframing what I was giving my mental and physical energy towards. I was bringing it from my brain and my uncontrollable, intrusive thoughts. I was bringing that back into my body. Like, where is my heart? Where are my feet? Bringing my awareness and my active mind, bringing it down rather than letting it run wild. And that's when, in the last vlogs too, I was doing more meditations. I did the frame technique. I was understanding what my chakras were, and I was putting the awareness on that I had a lack of boundaries with people. That was something I tackled. Again, another thing about awareness, that was something I tackled through meditation and through talking to my therapist about. I realized I have a real lack of boundaries with people. All of that came at the hands of putting my awareness back in my body, doing my YouTube research, and the frame technique of meditation. That was a big thing to help me develop my boundaries and put my awareness back in my body. The last thing, this is like the fourth thing that I started doing, is I started becoming aware of my inner child. I started doing an inner child meditation. This was the last meditation challenge that I was doing. The first meditation challenge I did was just raising my vibration, getting myself self-regulated. That was like the first month. And then the second month was about reframing my energy inwards and keeping it there, establishing my boundaries. And then my third meditation challenge was about digging deeper into my inner child, why I became the person I became, and really trying to put my brain back into past memories, back into past situations, things that aren't in my everyday mind or my conscious self, things that have been buried, repressed, laying down, putting an inner child meditation on, guided meditation, and giving it a shot and letting those thoughts happen. That's a big deal too. We can put on meditation sometimes. This is what I was doing. And sometimes still my thoughts were running wild and I wasn't listening. But all that proves is that these thoughts needed to get out. They needed an outlet. And once they get out, they can get out. And then you can go back to your focus. Again, this is another cycle. Letting the thoughts out and then bringing your awareness back in. That was another cycle I developed, as opposed to like trying to prevent all these thoughts, but they just ended up coming in anyway. And it was just making it a vicious cycle of uncontrollable thoughts. And with that inner child meditation and digging deeper, it was about forgiving myself again, but this time forgiving my inner child and forgiving aspects of my inner child that in the past, maybe I felt like they were my fault. Maybe you feel like if your parents are fighting a lot while you're growing up, you feel like you're just growing up in an unhappy household because you can't bring them happiness, right? So sometimes as children, we internalize things maybe we shouldn't. And to really go back and undo those things mentally, we have to go back and address that situation and reframe and rethink how we are going to develop our core beliefs based on that childhood, because almost all of our behavior patterns, our personalities, our hobbies, our passions, a lot of that stuff is just coming down to what kind of childhood we had and where we got attention, where we didn't get attention, where we needed support, where we didn't get support. A lot of us probably had to be our own parent at points, and that probably led us to become super responsible or super hyper vigilant or trying to take care of more things than we can handle, trying to spin all these plates, right? Bringing awareness to why we became the people we became. More often than not, 99 times out of 100, we became the people that we became because of our childhood, because of our environment growing up, because of the parental roles that we had or didn't have. And again, all of this is just for the goal of breaking this cycle of unconscious autopilot that we all pretty much find ourselves on unless we're actively putting the unconscious into our conscious mind. And the best way to do that is with meditation. Just stopping the world for yourself, creating an environment in your brain, allowing yourself to focus on that, allowing your energy to flow in the places that it needs to flow to. And that is what is going to break the most detrimental parts of these autopilot cycles that we've created. In the first 3 months, expect a lot of peaks, expect a lot of setbacks. The setbacks start to be less and less low vibe as the weeks go on. So in your second month, the third month, I definitely experienced setbacks. I still experience bad dreams, but I can wake up and sort of go about my day, and I know how to function with that now. So it's a process, and you have to trust the process, and you have to find people to trust with your process. I found Aaron Dowdy meditations to be the best for me, and I found a therapist to keep me accountable, and I found a new lifestyle. I'm not going out there drinking. I'm not going right back out there and dating again. I'm not bombarding myself with a bunch of tasks to distract myself. America is the land of distraction. We have a million things to distract ourselves, but we need more things that keep us focused, and we need more things to promote healthiness. And that's the biggest thing to seek out, is what's going to promote healthiness with you. I've been finding what's been promoting healthiness with me, but what's going to happen for you? You can let me know in the comments what you've been doing on your healing journey or what you're still stuck on. I know it's been a while since I've done a video. If you want to keep up with the things that I have been doing, you got to follow me on social media. I was doing a lot of music stuff and putting out blogs and things like that. Lastly, if you enjoy this video, just subscribe, like the video. It's free. Share it to somebody. And thanks for checking me out.